And we have another edition of Coffee with the Candidates. I'm here today with Chris Barkl, who is running for Yankton County Commissioner. Welcome today.
Thanks.
Well, we're going to go ahead and start by Chris. Why don't you go ahead and tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself?
Yep, and I guess as she said, I'm Chris Barkl. I'm running for Yankton County Commissioner. I grew up on a farm just west of Yankton a little bit, and I graduated from Yankton High School. And from there, I went on to USD, where I graduated with a bachelor's and a master's in accounting. And I also met my wife there, and she's currently a teacher in Irene, South Dakota. And now I am a licensed CPA. I have my own tax preparation business just outside of Yankton a little bit. And I still farm every day with my family.
That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about the farming that you do with your family. I know you have a long history here in Yankton.
Yep, so I guess my family's been farming here for as long as I know. And we raise the typical corn and beans and alfalfa and wheat. And then we also do cows and calves. So a little bit of everything.
A nice diversified operation. So as far as a county commissioner, what do you think the most important role is for a county commissioner?
I think that the most important role would be just to listen to what the voters and constituents have to say and what their concerns are, whether it's concerns on new zoning changes coming forward, or if they just want to talk about their road needs more repairs or whatever it is, and hear them out and do what you can to accommodate those concerns with the resources you have, and mostly just to be respectful and use the information you have to make the best decisions you can.
So what skills do you have that differentiate you from the other candidates?
Being a CPA, I have a lot of experience reading and applying, interpreting laws and regulations, and I think that's a big part of what the county commission has to do in a lot of circumstances, whether it's dealing with things that come down from the state or dealing with zoning changes or zoning laws. And then also coming from the farming background, I think that I bring a perspective from the ag community that's sometimes overlooked or not heard, and I think that would be an important addition to the county commission.
And if I do recall correctly, you serve on the Planning Commission right now?
Yep, I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm actually the chair on that commission, and I have been for the last several years. Been dealing with a lot of the different zoning changes that have come through recently and doing work on that, so I know how to deal with different people and opposing views, and how to work with everybody and get along even when you may not agree on everything.
Well, that's a great segue into our next question. There have been a lot of questions in Yankton County about zoning. Can you just share some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess my view on zoning is that there's different districts set up in the zoning ordinance, and that kind of lays out the ground rules for those districts so that everybody knows what to expect going in. And I think the intent and purpose of that is to have some order in the way things are developed, whether it's housing or ag zone or lakeside commercial, and that helps reduce the conflict amongst neighbors and amongst different parties, because everybody kind of knows what's going on going in, and there's process for people to have their input into new projects and to have their voices heard.
So what are your thoughts on having a full or a part-time county administrator?
I think as far as the county administrator goes, that's kind of what I believe the county commission does currently, and every department, whether it's planning and zoning or the highway department, has their own manager or department head that reports to the county commission. And at this time, I think that the county commission has the resources and the time to give their attention to each of those, and I think that it's a little more accountable to the voters that the county commission keeps doing that position instead of hiring another person under them to kind of take over that.
So management of the county budget is an integral part of the county's growth and development. What is the process you will use to create a progressive but yet responsible county budget?
So I think with budgets, sometimes maybe different departments or different things, they just kind of do what was done last year. And that's not always the right way to go about it. I think that you need to start fresh every year and review what's necessary and what changes may need to be made. And also, as far as budgeting goes, I don't think that you necessarily always need to have tax and spend on different programs and different things to try and create growth. I think that a lot of times that you can create a more attractive business and family community by doing what you can with your current resources and keeping like taxes lower for families and businesses, so that would promote growth.
Does your political party affiliation really matter as a county commissioner?
As a county commissioner, I don't think it really does. Really, at most local levels, I don't think that it matters. I think that as county commissioner, you have the time and the resources to gather the information that's necessary to make the best decisions you can. You don't need to rely on a party to help fill you in on things. And I guess honestly, before I started the county commission process of running, I didn't even necessarily know what all the commissioners' own political backgrounds were, because I don't think it's relevant at the county commission level.
So please share your thoughts on the county's relationship with the city of Yankton.
The county and the city, I think, should have a good working relationship, and that's important when there's large projects in the works or things being considered. Like, I know some of the talk recently has been adding a sewer district in the lake area and different things like that. You need to have a good working relationship with the city, because it's going to affect both entities. At the same time, I think that the county and the city are different entities, and that the county has more to consider than just the city of Yankton. We have other cities in the county, whether it's Utica or Lesterville or Gayville or Vollen or wherever. I think you need to have a good working relationship with everyone, and just cooperating will help things move along. And you have to remember that you represent the whole county and not just the city.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the two different governing bodies, sometimes people have that perception of the city governs everything within city limits, and then the county only handles things that are outside city limits. So sometimes people, I think, forget that the city is really an integral part of the county and still participates, even though the governing bodies are different, working together to create that growth and those economic opportunities, and hopefully being able to keep taxes low and create growth in all areas really matter. And I appreciate your comments about the smaller communities and trying to find ways to work together. Do you have any ideas on how we could maybe facilitate better conversations between the city government entity, the county as a government entity, and those smaller communities?
I think just being open to having those conversations and working together. Nowadays, when you have technology, makes it easier to work from home, for example, and maybe the smaller communities, they would represent a good opportunity to have more housing or more people moving into those areas. Also, I think that you can have those conversations together, and maybe there's some services that the city can provide to those smaller communities as they grow closer and closer together.
Yeah, I think that partnership and collaboration is definitely important. The county's reputation around the state has not always been positive. What will you do to help Yankton County be viewed in a better light?
I think in the past that the county may not have had the best reputation amongst the whole state, and I think that stems from litigations with the citizens of the community, and stems from people feeling disrespected at meetings, and then things get ugly with that. And I think the biggest thing for me is to always be respectful and hear everybody out. Even though you may not agree on everything, every issue, you need to work together and hear everybody and let people have their say and take it into consideration.
So at times, and you've probably experienced this on the Planning Commission, you're on the minority side of a vote that is passed by the majority. How do you continue to work with your fellow commissioners to support an initiative you voted against when it was passed by the majority?
So when you're considering changes or a potential vote, I think it's important to have strong opinion and make that based on the information that you have. And if it turns out that you're on the losing end, I guess you would say, of a vote, life still goes on, and you still have to work with the people, and you have to work with those rules that you have passed. And it doesn't mean that the door is closed in the future, that you can't talk about those issues and work with people to maybe make some changes in the future. But at the time, those are things that you have to live with, and you have to deal with it as it goes. And I think that's part of being a professional and being respectful and working with people and as things come along.
So is there anything you'd like to share with our viewing audience today that maybe wasn't a part of a question that was previously asked?
I guess I'm just happy for the opportunity to run for the county commission, and I think that I can do a lot of good for the county.
And if people want to get a hold of Chris Barkl to maybe have a conversation with you or communicate with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Probably the best way is through email. You can just email me. It's chriscbarkle@gmail.com. Pretty easy. Being on the farm and busy quite a bit, sometimes I can't get to my phone all the time, so that's probably the best way.
Yeah, and now that tax season has come to a close, that probably helps a lot as well for you.
Yep, definitely.
And some of your availability. So as a reminder to the listening audience, Yankton County voting centers for the June 7th election are Yankton City Hall, Yankton Fire Station number 2, Gayville Community Center, Mayfield Store, Lesterville Fire Hall, and Lewis and Clark Recreation Area. Also as a reminder, at the County Government Center, in the County Commission chambers, you can absentee vote now. So if you have your candidates selected and you're ready to go vote, take your ID into the Government Center. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.